Look around. You can see it everywhere now, in every city and every routine. Everyone is tired. Not, I stayed up late watching Netflix, tired. This is something heavier, something that doesn't go away with sleep. I mean deep tired, brain tired, the kind where thinking feels slow and decisions feel expensive. Soul tired, people wake up tired, they scroll tired, work tired, go to bed tired, sleep tired, and somehow, after all of this exhaustion, we were told to celebrate it. This was success. We were promised that there was a clear reward waiting at the end of all this effort. Something simple: work harder now. Add more hours, more effort, more sacrifice. Sleep less now. And later, after all the grinding and pushing and patience, you will be free. But later never actually arrived for most people. Never came. Instead, something unexpected and uncomfortable happened. The more people hustled, the more financially anxious and insecure they felt. The more they worked, the less stable their lives and futures they became. The more side hustles they added, the more drained and overwhelmed they got. Here's the scary part. And this is where the story takes a turn. This wasn't random, accidental, or organic. Hustle culture didn't just appear. It wasn't a trend that happened naturally over time. It was carefully shaped, refined, and distributed like a product. Packaged, sold. It had marketing. It had slogans. It had role models and success stories carefully chosen to be seen. And like any good product, it focused on what people wanted most: certainty, control, and the promise that effort alone could protect them from a future that felt increasingly unstable. Like fast food for people's goals and dreams, it promised speed, convenience, and instant results. Quick motivation, short bursts of inspiration that felt good in the moment but never actually sustained anyone. Zero nutrition, and an entire generation lined up to buy into it, hoping it would finally be the answer. Students, office workers trying to get ahead, freelancers chasing stability, content creators chasing relevance. Even people who already had jobs started feeling like rest had to be earned, as if stopping meant failing. If you weren't busy, if your calendar wasn't full, something felt wrong. You felt lazy. If you weren't tired, you assumed you weren't pushing hard enough or sacrificing enough. You felt behind. This is the story of how that mindset took over and quietly rewired how people see work and worth, and why walking away from it may be the smartest long-term money decision you ever make. Hustle culture didn't start on Instagram. It existed long before algorithms, likes, and follower counts. It started earlier. Go back a few generations, back several decades. Your parents were told there was a simple formula for success, a clear and predictable rule. Get a stable job, work hard, show loyalty, stay patient, stay loyal, and in return, you would be rewarded with something rare and valuable: long-term stability, a house, reliable healthcare when something went wrong, and the ability to stop working someday without fear. That system wasn't perfect. It excluded many people and relied on growth that couldn't last forever. Still, it offered something rare: predictability. But it worked, long enough for an entire generation to plan their lives around it. Then things changed. Quietly, at first, slow shifts that didn't feel dramatic until they were. Companies stopped being loyal. Long-term commitment gave way to quarterly targets and cost-cutting. People became replaceable. Jobs became temporary. Contracts replaced careers. Layoffs became routine, but the advice never updated to match reality. It stayed exactly the same: just work harder. Then came the biggest accelerant of all: the global internet. Suddenly, people were exposed to lifestyles they'd never seen before. Success wasn't distant anymore. It was everywhere online. Young, attractive, relaxed, making money from anywhere in the world, from laptops on beaches. They didn't look tired. They didn't look stressed or anxious or overwhelmed. They looked untouched by struggle. They looked free, free from bosses, free from schedules, free from the exhaustion everyone else felt. and they all said some version of the same story, repeated again and again across platforms. I hustled. That single word explained everything, or so it seemed. No context, no luck, no system. This idea exploded. It spread faster than any workplace policy or economic reform ever could. Screens amplified it, algorithms rewarded it, and suddenly, hustle wasn't advice anymore. It was everywhere. If you were struggling, the message was clear and uncomfortable. It wasn't about wages or housing or instability. It was about you, your mindset, your discipline, your effort. You weren't grinding enough, not waking early enough, not pushing long enough, not sacrificing enough comfort. You weren't waking up before everyone else, before sunrise, before rest. You weren't pushing through exhaustion, stress, and burnout. If it hurt, that just meant progress. Motivational quotes flooded every screen and every platform, short phrases pretending to be wisdom. Sleep when you're dead. No days off. Grind now, shine later. These messages felt empowering. They made people feel strong instead of scared, motivated instead of anxious. They gave people hope. Because if success was just effort, then anyone could make it someday. If success was just effort, then the system was fair. No luck, no timing, no privilege. That's why hustle culture spread so quickly across countries, industries, and age groups. It didn't feel like pressure. It felt like permission. It felt like opportunity, like a door anyone could walk through as long as they were willing to push hard enough. But there was a cost hidden behind that promise. The harder people worked, the more fragile their lives quietly became. Any missed paycheck, any illness, any pause could shatter everything. Burnout became normal, not an exception, not a warning sign. Exhaustion became a badge of honor. Being tired meant you were serious. Being rested meant you weren't trying hard enough. People tracked their sleep, their steps, their focus, their output. Every moment measured. Rest felt irresponsible, like falling behind competitors who never stopped. Time off felt like falling behind. Vacations became anxiety. Weekends felt unfinished. Meanwhile, the cost of simply existing kept climbing. Rent, education, healthcare, and basics all exploded. Housing got expensive, so did medical care, so did education. Wages didn't keep up, paychecks stayed flat while costs raced ahead. So people worked longer hours, took fewer breaks, and told themselves this was temporary. They took on more jobs. Side hustles at night, weekend gigs. Time vanished, evenings disappeared, weekends blurred, years slipped by unnoticed. Friendships faded, relationships weakened. Moments were postponed until later, but later never came. Life became work, not something you did, but something you were trapped inside. And still, no matter how much effort people poured in, it never felt like enough. That's when people started asking a different kind of question. What if working harder wasn't the solution at all? What if success wasn't about exhaustion, sacrifice, and constant struggle? Hustle culture confused effort with value. It taught people that being busy meant being worthy, and the real freedom was never about working all the time. That realization didn't arrive all at once. It came slowly, through burnout, frustration, and quiet doubt, through people noticing that the hardest workers weren't always the most secure, and that the calmest lives often belonged to those who had learned when to stop pushing. It was about choosing when to work, protecting energy, building leverage instead of burnout, and knowing when it's okay to stop.